Welcome to C-Tran 101, TriMet 101. Today we're again talking about C-Tran. This is the second of 3 videos I'm going to be making on this sort of thing. So let's get into it. I am not a Vancouver resident, I live in Oregon, but whenever I want to visit Vancouver, the easiest way to get there by far is to use C-Tran, which might be, through my eyes, why I think the regional and express routes might be the single most important thing that C-Tran operates. Yes, the Vine is probably the most convenient option for residents of Vancouver, but commuters who travel across the border every single day, of which there are lots of people that do, C-Tran really is the way to go. They provide service on the express routes every 20 minutes during the rush in the peak direction and every 15 minutes on the regional routes. Route 67's every 30 minutes, but still, it's frequent. I've come up with a few new bus routes that are all entirely regional or express, which I will cover throughout this video. But one thing I'd like to talk about is that there will be a new transit center that will be opening at the very end of September. And this particular transit center will be designed to carry new Vine service, which will also begin operating out of here. And when this new transit center opens, there will be multiple empty bus bays added, which could be filled in with whatever. As I describe each line, I'll also tell you how feasible I think it would be to operate this service. But before we go any further, I recommend watching last week's video that I made on fixing C-Tran's confusion, as I will be using some points from that video in this video. Last thing before I start talking about the route descriptions, buses. C-Tran operates some pretty old but really nice Gillig commuter buses with the most comfortable seats you could ever imagine, and luggage racks. The seat pattern is really ugly, but they're so comfortable. These buses are 2008 Gillig hybrids and are gonna need replacement at some point over the next few years. So I hope C-Tran seriously considers purchasing more buses like this, except with a little less ugly seat pattern. Because here's the deal. These are express routes. You're going to be on them for a long time, especially if you're stuck in traffic, which, let's be honest, is pretty much a given. So I imagine all of these buses would only be used on the express routes, and only the express routes would get these buses. You're paying a little bit more to use the express routes, but you're paying for that added convenience. Why not get a little bit of extra value out of that by pretty much guaranteeing that every time you get on an express bus, you're going to be getting one of these and getting that extra level of comfort that the rest of the buses don't have. Alright, let's begin with the regional routes. Route 60, Delta Park Regional. Feasibility, I will rate it at 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars. Frequency will run every 15 minutes and it operates 7 days a week, just like today's Route 60 does. But all trips will serve Jansen Beach, both directions, all day long. I actually have another video in the works on this soon, but the interstate bridge, I have a major announcement for that's going to have to be in a future video, and Route 60 might not be existing for another decade, so this would just be for now. Route 61, Anderson Regional. Feasibility for this one, I'm going to rate it at 1 star, but I'm going to tell it to you anyways. It would have 45-minute frequency during the rush hour only, and it also serves the Delta Park station, but it instead goes down Highway 14 on the other side of, once you're in Vancouver, and it just goes to the Anderson Park and Ride, the same place Route 190 ends. The 61 does not go into downtown Vancouver or Jansen Beach. It just goes straight from the Delta Park Max station to Anderson Park and Ride. Here's a renamed line, 65, Parkrose Fisher's Landing Regional. Yeah, it's kind of long, but you'll see why here in a second. 5 stars, 30-minute frequency, 7 days a week. No real change really from today's 65. But now let's talk about the 66, Parkrose Mill Plain Regional. This is the new transit center that will be opening at the end of September. I have this at 3 stars feasibility. This would also run every 30 minutes, 7 days a week. And in fact, operationally, these would be combined. The 65 and 66 would run together. So, the 65 would come out of Fisher's Landing Transit Center, 66 would come out of Mill Plain Transit Center and go into Oregon. But at the Parkrose Summer Transit Center, they'd switch. So, if you were to sit on the bus, it would come in as a 65, and then at Parkrose Summer Transit Center, it would change to a 66, go back, and then go back and change to a 65. It's really confusing wording it like that, but the services are combined the same way that TriMet is combining the 43 and 56 to run together. It's exactly the same. But the general idea here is that Parkrose Summer Transit Center, because both of these services on their own run every 30 minutes, it would mean that combined together at Parkrose Summer Transit Center, buses would operate every 15 minutes, all day. Route 67, Airport Regional. I have this one at 3-star feasibility, 30-minute frequency on weekdays only, weekday rush hour only, with possible late night service. Now on to Express. I've dramatically increased the presence of C-Tran's Express buses. 3 routes? No, let's go with 8. 105, I-5 Express. Feasibility? Yeah, 5 stars, absolutely. Service would run every 20 minutes during the rush hour and hourly off-peak without any weekend service. It'd be weekday only. Although you could potentially add Saturday service, but it would only really need to be from downtown Portland to downtown Vancouver. I guess this would be hourly, and it would be the only express route to run on Saturdays. The 105X would continue to exist, which bypasses downtown Vancouver and goes straight from downtown Portland to 99th Street Transit Center and Salmon Creek Park and Ride. Some late night trips would also not go all the way to Salmon Creek Park and Ride and would instead just end at 99th Street Transit Center. And just like I talked about in last week's video, all routes would come into Portland by serving Rose Quarter Transit Center. They'd go over the Steel Bridge and would serve 5th Avenue going southbound. They turn around and go 6th Avenue going northbound, because that's just the direction that the buses are going through Portland on. None of this whole before noon it goes this way and after noon it goes this way. Yet no. Depending on what way you're coming in or exiting Portland, that's the direction you board at. It just makes sense. It's how all the other bus lines work on the transit mall. So just keep that in mind. So the 105 is one of those routes that would enter downtown Portland using the transit mall. Route 107, Battleground Express. Yes, I chose that number deliberately. 2 stars. This one would run every 30 minutes during weekday rush hour only. It actually provides quite similar service to Route 105. It would begin in downtown Portland. It would serve downtown Vancouver. It then goes on I-5 for a long ways with no stops, and then it heads down highway, I actually forgot the highway number, I'll put it in this corner, but it heads down that highway all the way until Battleground. It services Route 7 stops on Main Street in Battleground and loops the same way Route 7 does at Rasmussen. This allows people who live in Battleground to either get to work in downtown Vancouver or downtown Portland. Again, the denser areas, the downtown areas, are where lots of employment are. So it's very likely that if you live in Battleground, you probably work somewhere in or around downtown Vancouver or downtown Portland. So this service is designed to kind of get you there. Route 110, Tigard Express. This one's 3 stars and runs every 30 minutes during the weekday rush hour or hourly off-peak. This route does use the Marquam Bridge and does not service downtown Portland or the Barber Transit Center. It comes out of Tigard Transit Center and then just heads on to I-5 and goes over the Marquam Bridge and stays on I-5. This would be the only route to use the Marquam Bridge. And the transit center stop, the one there at Tigard Transit Center, it would not pull into the Tigard Transit Center, but instead would service the same stop that Yamhill County's bus serves, which is sort of next to the transit center, right in front of that ballroom building, or whatever that is. It would be that general area. And once this gets into Vancouver, it just simply goes into downtown Vancouver and then just turns around. So it really just provides service from downtown Vancouver to Tigard Transit Center with no intermediate stops at all. Route 126, Sunset Express. Again, using a strategic route number. This one I have rated at 4 stars. You'd get 30-minute frequency during the rush hour and hourly, or maybe slightly worse than hourly frequency, off-peak. It begins at Sunset Transit Center, which has a lot of empty bays at it. And it uses Sunset Highway, aka Highway 26, which is why I chose the route number that I chose. Enters Portland, goes on I-405 and over the Fremont Bridge to end up on the east side. Then it just stays on I-5, crosses the river, and goes to downtown Vancouver and just turns around. Route 164, Fisher's Landing Express. 5 stars is how much I've rated this one. Again, every 20 minutes during the rush hour and hourly off-peak, just the same as today's service. Buses exit I-84 a little early though, and instead serve Multnomah Street that goes in front of the Lloyd Center, or maybe you could use Lloyd Boulevard. Whatever the case is, you need to end up at Rose Quarter Transit Center, which it will serve, cross the Steel Bridge, and go into downtown Portland using the Transit Mall. Other than that though, there aren't really any changes from today's Route 164. Route 166, Mill Plain Express. This route would run every 30 minutes during the rush hour and hourly off-peak, and the idea here is almost identical to the 164, except it services Mill Plain Transit Center instead of Fisher's Landing Transit Center. It's literally, other than that, the 164 and 166 are the exact same route. It just stays on I-205 a little longer once it gets to the east side, and then it uses Mill Plain Boulevard, doesn't service any stops on Mill Plain Boulevard, and then just ends at the transit center. It's important to note that this route does not serve Fisher's Landing at all. Route 164 goes directly there, and Route 166 stays on I-5 a little longer, and just goes to Mill Plain. It doesn't serve one and then serve the other. Route 170. Now I have 2 names for this one, so I'll just give them both to you. Route 170, Clackamas Express, or Route 170, I-205 Express. I've rated this one at 3 stars, and I'd give it 30-minute frequency during the rush hours only. It would only run during rush hour. This is a quite long super express with no intermediate stops. It begins at the Mill Plain Transit Center, ends up on I-205, and just long hauls it all the way down to Clackamas Town Center, taking the Sunnyside Road exit. I kinda doubt that TriMet would let C-Tran use the parking garage like at the normal Clackamas Town Center buses use. So it might just lay over right on the side of where that hotel is, right just on the west side of the hotel that they just recently built. That's likely where these buses would lay over, and they wouldn't use the parking garage to turn around. They would instead just turn around using the parking lot. The Clackamas Town Center Mall stop would not be serviced, and again, very likely the existing Transit Center stop would also not be serviced. It would just be by the hotel. Route 190, Marquam Hill Express. I've rated this one at 4 stars, and this one would run every 15 minutes during the rush hours only. And there's really no changes from today's route. It uses I-405, the Fremont Bridge, and then goes on I-5 into Vancouver. I still think it's kind of weird it just ends at Anderson Park and Ride and doesn't serve downtown Vancouver or anything that's a little busier. But as long as people use it and as long as that works, I'm fine with that. I don't even know if I should mention this, but there's another option to go from Portland's VA hospital to Vancouver's VA hospital. It is not provided by C-Tran at all, but it is a free shuttle that operates from the Portland VA hospital campus to Vancouver's VA hospital campus. It is free, but if you're not familiar with the Vancouver campus like I am, it can be kind of confusing trying to find it, but yeah, it does exist. So that's another option. Okay, let's organize this. Let's take a look at the routes that cross I-5 versus I-205. So I'll put the I-5 routes on screen and the I-205 routes on screen at the same time so you can see those. Here are the bridges in Portland that the routes use. Fremont, Steele, and Marquam. Those are the only 3 bridges that are used. Here are the routes that service downtown Portland on 5th and 6th Avenues using the Transit Mall. Southbound on 5th Avenue, northbound on 6th Avenue. Here are the routes serving downtown Vancouver. There are a few routes that only service Broadway before turning back around. And then the ones that go both directions through downtown Vancouver are Broadway and Washington streets in Vancouver. But I'll give those to you all at once for all the regional and express routes that actually go into downtown Vancouver in some way. And finally, the ratings 1 through 5. So here's your 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, and 5 stars. Honestly, the Battleground Express maybe could be a 3-star route, but then I wouldn't have had any of them rated as 2 stars, so yeah. This was a lot of info, but I thank you for watching this very long C-Tran video. I have more C-Tran videos in planning, especially now that the next Vine service will be open starting October 1st, and they're going to have celebrations on September 30th. This reminds me of exactly how TriMet did the FX thing back in September 2022. I will be there recording videos of the whole thing, so I'm very excited for that. So look out for more C-Tran content coming your way. I'm not leaving, it's not that I'm never going to make TriMet videos again, and it's not that I'm just going to be recording nothing but C-Tran, but I'm really liking the system as of lately while I learn it a little better. So yeah, there'll be some videos on TriMet and C-Tran over the next however long it's going to be. But anyways, I just keep rambling on and on, so let's just end the video now. Goodbye.